Anila's jumping L has seen a couple of buffs to it. Before, you could use it as an air-to-air, but you would only get a couple little pokes on the enemy and then be advantageous on the ground. The patch notes say that the mid-air hit stun has been increased by 2 frames, going up from 16 to 18, and the launch height has also been reduced. To go out of order on the patch notes, this change to her jumping JL combines nicely with the changes to her light and medium over the fence. The aerial state timing has been adjusted, being 3 frames faster now, so you're able to act out sooner with an aerial normal than before. These changes come together to give her actually some pretty cool links that you can do as anti-air combos. Before, there really wasn't much potential here for this route. But now with the ability to use jump normals faster out of the light and medium over the fence versions, you're able to get anti-airs that are a little closer to the ground by using these moves, which improves your overall combo potential. This is something to give you an idea, though I will be up front. This particular combo is very tricky, so I'm not sure how it's going to compare against your already established 2H combos. The heavy version of Fluff 'em and Stuff 'em is now faster by 1 frame on startup. Before, if you did a triple attack sequence, there was a gap here, so the opponent was pressing an invincible reversal, you could get hit. This 1 frame makes all the difference. Now the opponent is forced to block it and give Anila her plus frames. She appreciates this. She has consistent pressure now. The active frames of the ultimate version of Fluff 'em and Stuff 'em have been adjusted individually across each sheep. You're going to see a decrease in the total number of active frames here. The patch notes themselves describe this as making sure that at full range, they're not as oppressive of a projectile as they were before. As you can see, the 3rd sheep doesn't even reach anymore. This was how it used to behave. It's a little bit of a pressure loss. I don't think it's anything too severe for Anila, especially since it functions basically the same at mid and close range. The light version of Flock to the Future had its travel speed increased. This was how it used to move. This is its new movement speed. While I haven't been able to find any sort of new situations where she can now frame trap more effectively off of this because of the faster movement speed, or at any ranges where that's possible, just having this option overall be faster means it's a little more usable. You can close the gap with it quicker, you're going to be able to keep pressure on the opponent easier, and force that Totsugeki RPS that will have thousands of Strive players cry out in PTSD agony. The ultimate version of Flock to the Future does have a nerf to it. The pushback on block for the 2nd hit has been reduced. This basically is in line with many other system mechanic changes we've seen to ultimate moves to make them more punishable on block. Now, if you're able to block this move out, you can get a close medium starter on her. As you can see, that's a punish. This is what the situation looked like before. You would get far medium here, and thus would have to go into a light to get a punish. Now, the risk-reward is a little more skewed against her. The medium version of And Beyond, her follow-up to Flock to the Future, sees a couple of buffs. The active frames of the projectile have been increased, there's now a wall bounce in mid-screen, and there's been some adjustment to the knockback. This is what the active frames would look like before. So the sheep would go maybe a little bit past half screen. This is what the active frames look like now. As you can see, it's now a full screen threat. With the new wall bounce, you're able to get some mid-screen combos off of this. If you're close enough, you can link a far heavy here, and then go into additional follow-ups. At pretty much any range, you can also link this into an ultimate and beyond. Being able to threaten this kind of damage off of a medium fireball poke is pretty nice. It will add some layers to Anila's offense in the mid-screen, since she can't do this kind of pressure and get this reward with the EX version of Flock to the Future and beyond. Compare that to your reward before. Just a little fireball poke is all. There's been several buffs to the heavy version of And Beyond as well, namely to its startup, launch height, and duration of wall bounce. If you try to combo into And Beyond follow-up, skipping the Flock to the Future portion of the move against a crouching opponent in the old patch, it wouldn't work from a triple attack. Now, if you do it against a crouching opponent, you do get a combo. It seems a little weird why you want to do this initially, though. For starters, Flock to the Future does more damage than And Beyond, so you're giving up some damage here in this situation for it. But I think the idea of this change is to give Anila players a little bit of a skill check to happen near the corner. The version of Flock to the Future gives a wall bounce, but it's a fairly weak wall bounce near the corner. As you can see, it can be a little hard to get a pickup here. But now with the improved wall bounce from And Beyond's follow-up, you're able to get better combo links down the road, which improves your overall damage at the cost of the initial damages hit. I think Anila players will either find this as a fun new level of nuance to the character or a frustrating little detail they have to keep in mind. Either way, we'll see what they think of it. A buff is a buff overall. The light and medium version of Over the Fence had some adjustments, namely buffs. You are now in an airborne state earlier. Instead of taking 11 frames to be airborne from the light version, it now takes 8 frames. This means you're able to act out sooner and throw out more moves sooner. This could potentially lead to better pressure sequences or even combo routes. The medium version has a similar adjustment. The startup timing before was 13 frames, and now it's 10 frames. Any sort of setup that you had before that relied on the old timing is going to have to be adjusted for this one. But considering that faster usually is better in some ways, I'd be curious to see if there's any sort of setup before that was auto-timed that no longer works because of these changes, and what new possible combos or pressure sequences there are because of them. The attributes for the ultimate version of Over the Fence have been adjusted. Before, this was basically like a neutral skip move. However, that was pretty much it. You're not dealing with any iframes. You're not really getting any plus on block pressure sequences going on here. You're just doing a jump from full screen that costs half of your SBA gauge. Up close, the utility, or lack thereof, was very much apparent. You got a cross-up in a game with a block button. Now there is a follow-up attack to Anila's Over the Fence ultimate. Let's explore this attack briefly. For starters, it's plus on block. So Anila will appreciate being able to jump from mid to screen and then get some offense started by spending half her SBA gauge. On hit, you force the opponent into crouching and you can get combos. This is overall pretty nice for Anila. Just having a new option to spend her meteor on is going to be something that she will appreciate, especially one where you get some good rewards on block. Do know that it behaves in line with many other ultimate skill moves. If the opponent's able to react with a dodge, you're likely going to be eating a punish. Just be mindful of that. The pushback on Ramification's follow-up has been reduced. As you can see, you're -6 in that close-medium range for some characters, meaning that you're likely to be punished for going for this follow-up in the current patch. This is what the situation looked like before. Instead of being at close-medium range, you're at far-medium range, so instead of being threatened by a light punish, you're now being threatened by a medium punish in the current patch. It's a little bit of a nerf to her on-block pressure with the move, but I think it's just so that instead Anila has to play with -2 RPS on block more often from Ramification, rather than being less reliant to go for the frame trap afterwards to steal the turn back. It's just something to balance it out a little more, I suppose. This was a clip I could find on Twitter that showcases a few of the changes to Anila coming together. With the faster aerial frames of Over the Fence and the increased hit stun of jumping L, you're able to route a DP punish like this using your 2H as a starter. Shouts to Kura for this tech. Do bear in mind that the damage is against someone with no BP, so this is doing an extra 50% combo damage. Anila is certainly buffed in this patch. I mean, many of the changes for her are very much positive. She gets some safer pressure off of certain situations. She has a new ultimate skill move to play with. But at the same time, I'm not sure how much of this is really going to impact her overall. The ultimate Over the Fence doesn't really strike me as impressive. It's fairly slow on startup, which means it's going to be very easy to react with a spot dodge and get your punish going on it. But on the cases that it does work, at least she has that option to go for when it comes to a neutral situation. But keep in mind, it has to compete with her other ultimate skills, like Fluff 'em and Stuff 'em in particular, in order to actually have some sort of viability to it. But still, she is better overall, and the changes to her medium and beyond Fireball mean it actually has a bit of a use in her kit. Feels like she's going to perform a little bit better, but I don't think she's going to be moving up or down the tier list too much. What's really going to make or break the character, I think, is some tech that I haven't been able to explore and find out, namely with the new ability of Over the Fence's light and medium versions to have faster aerials come out in startup, giving her new combo links. Again, she probably is going to be functioning just fine, and she was in a pretty fine spot before, but I imagine that she's going to be relatively the same power level as she was in the previous patch.